Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. I was on TikTok and I came across a community that I was so fine with leaving behind. A community that I was so okay with never hearing from ever again, but we know that's not really how life goes. Basically, if you've been here for a while, you know that I like talking about weird communities that I find online. Communities that I have the misfortune of coming across. Now, so one community that I've had a long-standing issue with is the Hibristophiliacs. Now, I don't know if they refer to themselves as that. I don't know what their inner lingo is. But basically, we're talking about the community of people who sexualize, who romanticize serial killers. So I'm talking about the Ted Bundy fangirls as an example, and any other criminal really. But I've seen a lot of the community with the Columbine shooters, obviously Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, a lot of the big serial killers. I think that the fact that a lot of these people are quote-unquote stans of criminals from a while ago puts a degree of separation. When they are stans or drooling over someone who's very much still alive and who is still being sentenced, that hits closer to home because it's like, wow, okay, so this is happening in real time. Like, you're not even talking about, you know, sexualizing someone from 40 years ago, which is still fucked up, but it's like the crimes happened so long ago that I can see how someone would become that delusional. See a therapist. So who am I talking about? So basically I was scrolling on TikTok and I had the misfortune of coming across these videos. Now, the ones I'm going to show you, I'm going to change the music because of copyright, but I'll try and find equally as shitty music to kind of give the same vibe. I had no idea who this fucking person was, but he was in a courtroom, so I was already like, this does not look good. So basically, we're gonna talk about this man's crimes. He is a killer, a strangler. In fact, he has a swastika tattoo, just so you get an idea of all the people who are unironically saying, I can fix him in the comments, which I don't know what the percentage is. I definitely know some people are kidding, but I also definitely know some people aren't. And that scares me to my very core. So let's talk about this criminal that has all the girls freaking out. And guys. I mean, I don't know. Stupidity doesn't have a gender. So anyway, killer sporting Nazi face tattoos is found guilty of brutal strangling of two Florida women hours apart. Wade Wilson, 30, faces the death penalty for the October 2019 murders of 35-year-old Christine Melton and 43-year-old Diane Ruiz. Now, I'd like to underline that within the first, 5 seconds of me reading this man murdered two women within the same day, just hours apart, and you're out here thirsting over this guy. All right, well, we already knew the bar was low, but this... Okay. Wade Wilson has been convicted of murdering two Florida women who were brutally strangled just hours apart. The Cape Coral jury deliberated for just 2 hours and 7 minutes before reaching the verdict on Wednesday. Wilson appeared to swallow back tears as he was found guilty on all counts. I'll see if I can find the TikToks, but there are TikToks that say, look at him being emotionless, and then there are other ones being like, look at him fighting back tears, and it's the exact same footage, so I guess it's a question of interpretation. He also does smirk at some points. I'll insert all of this if I can find it. He does smirk, but it's hard to tell with the shitty tattoos, so.
It may have been collected by forensics.
Did you go through the phone?
It was forensically examined, I believe, sir, yes.
But did you go through it first?
No, sir.
No, you didn't go in and scroll through anything?
No, sir.
Nothing further, Judge.
I don't know what he's trying to emote. I don't know if he was hoping for TikTok fan cams so the girlies can send him money in prison. But anyway, well, if he gets to prison, because death penalty. Jurors will now be tasked with making a recommendation whether Wilson will face the death penalty or life in prison without parole. Judge Nick Thompson will then make the final decision. The sentencing phase is set to begin on June 20th. Wilson, 30, who was allowed to wear makeup in court to cover the swastika tattoos on his face, refused to testify in his double murder trial, which began in Cape Coral 2 weeks ago. In closing arguments on Wednesday, the prosecution said Wilson killed Christine Melton, 35, and Diane Ruiz, 43, on October 7, 2019, for the sake of killing. This case was about killing for the sake of killing, Assistant State Attorney Andreas Gardner told the court. Strangulation is the epitome of life slipping through someone's hands. Melton was found dead in her Cape Coral home. She was tied and wrapped, her skin had turned blue, and she had broken fingernails. He had driven over her repeatedly and tried to make her look like spaghetti, Gardner said. This is apparently a direct quote, the trying to make her look like spaghetti. Truly, 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 how do you separate someone's appearance from the little detail that they're a fucking strangler and also they want to basically churn people like meat? Ruiz was found dead in an empty lot on the same day. Police say both had been strangled. Both of them died on October 7th, 2019. Both of them had been strangled, and both of them were forever silenced. The last person they encountered was Mr. Wade Wilson, Gardner said. The prosecution said Wilson was still bragging about the murders to police 3 days later and claimed his biggest concern was getting a burger and fries while Diane Ruiz laid in the field with bugs eating her face, making her unrecognizable. Wilson's defense attorney, Lee Hollander, did not deny that his client was guilty of the killings, but argued there was no premeditation, and argued that Wilson was under the influence of drugs at the time. We're not claiming that he didn't do it, Hollander said. I suspect the drugs. He asked the jury to consider convicting Wilson on the second-degree murder charge. I'm not arguing insanity, I'm arguing the state is claiming premeditation. I'm arguing he's whacked out of his mind for any of this, Hollander added. Wilson's trial has been 5 years in the making after being plagued with a slew of delays, including the death of his first attorney, and Wilson's brief escape from a holding jail cell. I don't even know where to begin here. This man seems to just be followed by tragedy. But aside from that, okay, so I don't know if drugs are part of the equation, okay? If drugs are part of the equation, hopefully rehab can do what it needs to do. Obviously, therapy needs to go with that. That being said, if drugs are not really part of the equation in the sense of they just heightened something that's very much already there, what can you really do? And I don't like to say, you know, people are a lost cause. I do think some people are a lost cause, to be clear. But there's nothing redeeming here. That's the thing I'm really struggling with, because obviously, I'm gonna say it just in case, there is nothing I support here. He's a horrible man, and the fact that I even have to voice that makes me uncomfortable. But when I was trying to understand how you make these TikTok fan cams, because the thing is also, based on what I've read, between trying to make a woman's cadaver look like spaghetti, between him escaping the holding cell, his lawyer also dying, which is suspicious, probably not his fault, but suspicious. The redeeming thing is apparently his appearance. That's what I'm guessing it is, right? So, I mean, what else could it be, honestly? And then there were a lot of people in the comments making jokes like, oh, I need therapy, like, I think this guy's hot. And it's like, okay, I'm really not trying to be rude, but the next time you start dating someone, I would suggest asking yourself a lot of questions. If you see a guy on trial for strangling women and you're like, him. I think we have answered some of your questions about whether you date red flags. Wilson previously denied killing the women in an interview with NBC2, but at his trial, his biological father, Stephen Testaseca, took the stand and testified that his son not only confessed to the crimes in detail, but also bragged about them. He said, I'm a killer, there are 2 people gone who are not coming back, Testaseca told the court. He said that he pulled her out of the car and realized she was still breathing. He said he got back in the car and ran her over until she looked like spaghetti. Wilson was indicted on the murder charges in November 2019. He has been at the Lee County Jail since October 2019, but now could face the death penalty. Juries in Florida only need 8 out of 10 members to recommend the death penalty.
I want to turn your attention to Monday, October 7th of 2019.
The first time he said, He needed help. He had done something that he couldn't take back.
Did he indicate that he and his girl had gotten into an argument?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was his girl that you were aware of at the time?
I just knew her as Mila.
And did it seem that he wanted your help because of this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
When he called you, were you actually at work?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to really give your attention and time to him to try to help him at that point?
No, ma'am.
So what did you tell him when he was asking for your help?
I just told him to call me back around dinner time. I'd be done working and we'd figure it out.
And did you at some point have a conversation with your wife about him getting in touch with you wanting your help?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, during the time that he was supposed to call, about what time was he supposed to call back?
I told him around dinner time.
Now, between the time he first called that day and dinner time, did you receive a call from a detective?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that detective looking for your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when the detective was looking for your son, did you have any idea at that point of what had happened?
No, ma'am.
Did the detective want you to try to help them get in touch with your son?
She just gave me a number and said if he calls you back, we need to talk to him.
Okay. Did he end up calling you later that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he tell you in that call that evening?
The final call?
Nope, the call before the final call.
He just told me, he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, I'm a killer. I just told him to call me back. I just thought it was another story.
So at this point, when he says that there were 2 people that wouldn't be with us and that he was a killer, did you put a lot of weight into that?
No, ma'am.
Did you think he was just telling you a story?
He's a good storyteller.
So did he then call you back a third time?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did he call you back?
It was around 10 o'clock.
I want to go back to that dinner time call. When he talked about these 2 people who were no longer with us and that he was a killer, did he show any type of remorse?
No, ma'am.
So let's go now to the 10 o'clock call. Again, your wife knew about kind of what was going on during that day.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he called back at 10, did he go into more details about what he had told you earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start with the first girl. If you could tell the jurors, what did he tell you?
He just said he met a girl at a bar. They went back to her house, hung out for a little bit, and then she fell asleep.
What did he say happened after she fell asleep?
He said he got on top of her and choked her.
What name did he call her? Did he refer to her in a derogatory term?
He said, I choked that bitch.
Okay. And what did he say he did after he choked her?
He said he stayed in the house for a little while, and then he rolled her up and was going to try to put her in her trunk, but he couldn't lift her.
Did he say why he was unable to put her in her trunk?
He said that he felt like rigor mortis had started to set in.
And does rigor mortis make your body stiff? You didn't know?
I think so.
So I'll link an article down below that also details what Wade Wilson got up to before these murders, because he'd already been in trouble criminally. So if you're interested in that, it'll be linked down below. Anyway, that's all that's out there as of right now, June 27th. I honestly am continuously befuddled at how it is that people can just seemingly ignore the fact that someone's a murderer and think that they're hot. And I get thinking that someone's hot aside from their personality. We all have that person that we think is a horrible person, but they're attractive. Usually that being horrible, though, is like just someone who bothers you. It's not someone who's a murderer. So, I think we should reevaluate our standards, TikTok girlies. Let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.